Hi there, my name is Brooke Burton. I am an artist living and working in Boise, Idaho, and I'm coming at you with a collaboration with the Boise Art Museum to give you a little sneak peek of the exhibition that they are hosting called Everyday Objects, The Enduring Appeal of the Still Life, which is my thing. That's why I'm here. I am obsessed with objects. The work that I am very proud to have included in the show is called Rostrum, and I'm going to give you a little comparison between Rostrum and the other work in the show called Salt, Pepper, and Fire by Jo Ann Callis. How cool is that name? But first, look at this. This is the virtual tour you can do of the show, which I just found out about recently. You can walk around and find all kinds of little hidden gems. So that's how I am looking at Jo Ann Callis's work. So one thing you gotta know about still life work is that it's got three really important things that is very common. Number one is a surface. And the way I sort of identify the surface is I look for the edge, or sometimes it's just a horizon line. And what I love about Jo Ann Callis's work is that the surface is a curved circle table. So you get a really nice arch in the back and a really gentle fold in the front. It's sort of contradictory to the traditional still life with a table and a very straight edge if we think about the Dutch still lifes in the 1700s, which we will talk about later. Okay, the other two things that you'll almost always find in a still life is some kind of food. I actually counted up in the exhibit the different types of food. Guess what's number one? Fruit. Dead fruit, especially. After that is fish. There's actually disproportionately high number of fish being represented in the still life work. And then third, coffee cups. God, you gotta love your coffee. Another really common thing in still lifes, besides a surface and objects to put on it, is drapery. Look at Jo Ann Callis's tablecloth. It's so smooth and buttery, and it's a perfect sort of blank canvas to highlight her soft lighting. The third thing you find in still life work is objects. It's got to be objects. And then also there's a lot of other little things like shadows, which you can see in this work. God, look at that. Look at Jo Ann's use of lighting and how it comes through the salt and pepper shakers and creates those little twinkly areas of the light sort of collecting and concentrating in one area. In the coffee cup. Okay, they have told me multiple times I'm not allowed to touch the artwork, but the thing about how Jo Ann has chosen to print is that these objects are life-size, so it makes me want to touch all the things she's photographed. If you're looking at objects in still life, I think of them in hierarchies, which is what really literally what Rostrum is about. It's about putting things at different levels. You're not supposed to do that with people, like put them at different levels, but I feel like it's kind of part of human nature. And so while I'm taking photographs of salt and pepper shakers, it's not really about objects. It's about people, and it's about stories and narratives that I see reflected in the world around me. And that's another way that people have used the still life genre as a way of self-reflection. Sometimes I don't even know why I do things a certain way, but looking at Jo Ann's still life and at her beautiful salt and pepper shakers, I saw them as little wedding cake toppers. So I see a groom wearing a tuxedo, that would be like the pepper, and the salt wearing a wedding dress. And so looking back at my work, I primarily use salt shakers, meaning I viewed them as females or extensions of myself. And I use only like one or two pepper shakers, which would then be the other or the male. And so if you were really to dig deep into that, apparently I'm obsessed with my husband. So salt and pepper, male, female, wedding dresses and tuxedos. But if we go back to Jo Ann's work and look really closely, she is breaking some of the rules of still life, which is she's alluding to time. She's not trying to make things look like they are standing still, but she's got something moving there in the upper left-hand corner, and it's a bird. And also the flames. She's got a whole plate of something that's burning up, probably a fish. No, I don't know. So the other thing that I learned recently about objects and still life work, and this is something I learned from Emily Culver. She's the resident artist at the James Castle House for the month of April, May, June in 2022, is something called Object-Oriented Ontology. That's a mouthful. You can just call it OOO for short, but it's a German philosophy that asks you as a human being to, instead of putting yourself at the top of a hierarchy with inanimate objects below you, it asks you to raise all the inanimate objects sort of up and consider them all on one sort of plane. I'm really interested in looking at that OOO. Thanks, Emily Culver, for that. So if you go back to rostrum, not only am I using these pink blocks to reinforce that idea of a hierarchy, but I'm also using sort of, it's not a Polaroid, but people think it's a Polaroid. I'm using an Instax photo, which is an instant printing technique. And instead of having 3 salt or pepper shakers on the different levels, I'm using a representation. I use a lot of representations in my representations as a mise en abyme, or a scene within a scene, or the mirror effect when you've got 2 mirrors and you stand between them and you look into infinity of infinite reflections of yourself. So maybe when you look at still life work, think about what you bring to the work and your perspective, and whether you think of inanimate objects as being on a lower hierarchy than yourself as an animate living being.